This is Downey Fire Department training video for the First Two platform around assets and asset management. For today's video, we're going to be operating here in this along the left-hand side in the Assets tabs. This will be a quick overview of the asset module. The first tab that's highlighted here is going to be the dashboard. In the dashboard, you're going to have tabs across the top of apparatus, equipment, station, and kit. What that's going to do is for the apparatus that you choose here, in this case, I'll choose Battalion 604. I'll see the the checks that are due today for those apparatus. You can see that they're due here. And then the equipment check. If there was one, station check, kit check, depending on what you've chosen in the dropdown. This dropdown is a sticky dropdown for your apparatus. So if you're normally assigned to engine 61 and you choose engine 61, the next time you log out and log back in, it'll remain on engine 61. So this is a quick overview of the dashboard. In the additional portion of the dashboard, it'll show your work order list, and this will show all work orders in the apparatus tab that are assigned to this, all work orders assigned to apparatus. It would do the same for equipment, stations, and kits as you tab across the top to see all the active work orders that are going on. Next tab along the left is the apparatus checks, and what that does is it gives you a fleet overview. So when the fleet overview populates, you'll see all of our fleet. You can also break it out by engine, truck, rescue ambulance, etc. By selecting one of these, it'll take you to the highlight of that apparatus, in this case engine 62. This gives you a quick overview. In the overview screen, you can place it in service or out of service with a quick toggle there. You have the opportunity here to create a work order, to add fluids. So if you get fuel, you would log your fuel here, or to create just a log entry, and that can be anything associated with the apparatus that you just want to log for detailed purposes. Next on the list is going to be your equipment checks. In this case, we're not going to be doing any equipment checks specifically from this tab. It'll all be embedded in the apparatus checks as we move forward. But this is where you can see all the equipment that we have broken out by category, and any checks that would be associated with it. Station checks. What it gives you is our station overview. Again, you can expand out and see our fire stations. In this case, I'm going to select Fire Station 1. Again, it gives you an overview of your station check. This is where you would create a work order. And when I say work order, I'm talking about our previously known 407. These 407 forms are going to be, they've already been converted to an electronic platform. Now we're going to be incorporating the 407 process under one umbrella so that it'll all be incorporated in one records management system. So the work order, you can create them here, or you can add a log. And I'll go through these additional tabs below, similar that you saw on the apparatus checks earlier. Next tab is kit checks. Again, it's similar to equipment. Equipment is items that have a city tag or a large financial value. Those are the kinds of pieces of inventory that would be called equipment. Kits are just that. It's a bag or a container that holds a bunch of equipment or inventory inside of it. And so it's a way to kind of capture multiple pieces of equipment that are all associated together, like a rope rescue bag or a swift water bag. And then inside of that would be additional equipment, just to kind of group your equipment and inventory. Work order boards here we'll go over in more detail in another video, but this would be another place where you can create a work order. If you create a work order here, you're gonna tab through to create new work orders, and again, we'll detail that in another video. There are multiple work order boards, and each board is associated with a different area of program management. So in this case, you can see you would scroll through, and this drop-down menu, it's not very, it doesn't stand out very much, but it is important because if you go into facilities, then you're going to see it change, and it will track the facility work orders. If you change it to apparatus, then it will track the apparatus work orders that are in progress. You can see we've had some test items here that have been moved along into the completed column. And after they move to the completed column, that means that they're finished. They'll stay here for 5 days, and then they'll automatically drop off the completed list. In the apparatus list, this just gives you an overview of all of our equipment that we have, and this includes utility vehicles, support vehicles, as well as any kind of red response vehicle. The equipment list is just another view of all of the equipment that we've logged within our system, and this is going to be good for program managers equipment manager, so that they can track preventative maintenance, inventory location, inventory status on all of the equipment assigned within our department. The station list, again, is just a breakdown of each station and the details around it. The kit list is just that. It's going to be another breakdown. So here you have the rope rescue equipment as a group, and here's these rescue bags on the different engines that have been created as kits. And last but not least is an inventory list. Now, inventory, the three big pieces are equipment, inventory, and kits. Again, equipment are large financial ticket items that have city ID tags associated with them. Kits are bags or containers that contain equipment and inventory. And inventory are smaller items that don't necessarily have a city ID tag associated with them, but we want to track them as inventory. You might think of them as consumable items. Not that any of these items should be lost or consumed or discarded with for any reason, but some of the other inventory items might be bleach or laundry detergent and things like that. So they're just inventory items that don't meet the threshold of equipment with an ID tag associated with them. So I'll take you back real quick in your apparatus checks. Just for one last overview, I'll do another video on how to actually do an apparatus check, how to create a work order and all of that. But when you're in your overview here, you have these tabs along the bottom. When you hit checklists, it's going to show you all the checklists. You can actually scroll through the checklists, and there's multiple that aren't in the view, but it has your daily engine daily pre-trip, or really any daily pre-trip inspection. It has changeover lists associated with your apparatus. It has strike team changeover lists associated. It has a regen documentation, so after you finish your regen, you would come in here and document the regen. It has a hose log, so you can update your hose log and any additional checks. It also has overdue checks, so in this case, while we're waiting to roll it out, it shows that yesterday's checks were not complete, so it just is a location. So after 11 a.m., the checks that are due for today move into the overdue checks, and so that's what you'll see there is overdue checks if it's after 11 a.m. The next tab here is work orders. Again, you can create the work order here by pressing new, or you can create the work order here by hitting create. So multiple places to create work orders for your apparatus. Your equipment, we've had our personnel go through and create inventories for all of our apparatus. So in this case, I've moved back to engine 61, and inside of engine 61's Captain 1 is a full inventory of all the equipment that's located in that rig or in that compartment on that rig, and it continues along all the way through the rig, so that if you are doing inventory or you're not sure what should be in that compartment, we've gone through and inventoried all of the apparatus, so you have a running list of what should be there. Next, down here at the bottom, towards the bottom, is fluids. If you click fluids, this is going to be add fluids. Again, up here in the overview, you can add fluid there as well. What this is going to do is when you add fluid, you're going to put the fluid type. In this case, diesel fuel. You'll put the number of gallons, it's measured in gallons, and then you'll put volume or quantity in number of gallons, and then you would hit save. And when you do so, a log here. If you add any oil, how much oil did you add? If you add fuel, how much fuel? If you're whatever maintenance you're doing, and if there's a cost associated with those fluids, it'll start tallying these costs here. Again, just good for record keeping and good for justifications for the cost of maintaining our apparatus and fuel costs as well. And finally, the logbook, and what this is going to show is everything that's happened for that piece of apparatus as an ongoing list. You can search it by date, by name, by summary. But it'll log everything that's happened to this piece of apparatus over the course of the history of the apparatus. And last but not least, I'm going to go into station checks. When you select your fire station, again, we talked about you can create a work order here. You can add an entry log here. The stations also have checklists, and really what we're trying to do is just capture and create a system for really all of our record keeping. And so for our supply sergeant, this will be where station personnel go into do their month ends. You can see that the month ends are on the last day of the month. and they expire at 10 p.m. So you can go through. It won't say start check unless that check is due. So that's why you don't see start check here, because it says next due isn't until the end of January here. But what you can do is you can start a non-month end station supply request. And so you can request supplies directly to the supply sergeant. And when you do that, it'll go onto their work order board, and the supply sergeant will get an email notification that you've requested supplies. That doesn't preclude you from going down to Station 1 and securing your own supplies, but it's just a way of notifying the supply sergeant if you need something that's not available. Again, work order history, you can create a new work order here, or again up here you can create a work order for, if the AC is not working or if there's a plumbing issue, whatever it might be. And what that allows is, in this case for the facilities battalion chief, to be able to be notified and then track the progress on the work order. And the nice thing about that, if you create a work order, you can also go in and check the status of the work, whether it's been received, it's in process, the parts are ordered. But you'll also be able to track the progress of that work order yourself, not just for the program manager. Station supplies, we're continuing to build this out. So right now we have a station supply list. And again, this is going to be tied to when we do the month ends. Still working on the minimum quantities, but you can see that this breaks down all the station supplies. And then you would complete that on the last day of the month, and then the supply sergeant can see what quantities you'll need. And we're actively building out the the fire station EMS supplies. We don't have the minimum quantities. In this case, we only have adenosine built out, but that'll continue to build out so that when we do our Saturday EMS supply inventory checks at the stations, you'll have a checklist to do so, and you can put the quantity that's there. And then if it goes below the minimum quantity, the EMS or the EMS supply coordinator would be notified that your quantity has gone low, so that we can make arrangements to restock the stations. And then finally, in the logbook, similar to the apparatus, you're going to see a full logbook of anything and everything that's happened associated with this station along the way. So that's a quick overview of the assets module. In a separate video, we'll go over how to do actual checklists for the apparatus checks and the month-end checks. But now you kind of get a gist of the assets module overview.